Pilot says, prepare for crash landing. Then the farmer in 14C said, give me the controls. The hum of the engines was louder than usual that afternoon. Flight 472 from New York to Chicago had been cruising smoothly for hours, but now, a sudden jolt rattled the cabin. Passengers clutched their armrests as the captain's voice came over the intercom, calm yet edged with tension. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We are experiencing an emergency. Prepare for a possible crash landing. Panic rippled through the cabin. Mothers hugged their children tightly, and businessmen stared at their phones, as if searching for answers that wouldn't come. The flight attendants moved with swift efficiency, calming passengers while performing their safety checks. But in the cockpit, the situation was far grimmer. First Officer Daniels was pale, beads of sweat forming on his brow. The plane had lost one engine, and the other was failing. We won't make it to the nearest airport, Captain, he said, his voice strained. I don't know if we can glide far enough. Captain Reynolds, a veteran pilot with more than 20 years in the air, took a deep breath. His eyes scanned the instruments, calculating angles, wind speed, and glide ratios with precise mental math honed over decades. We're running out of options, he admitted quietly. I might have to attempt a crash landing in open terrain. It's going to be rough, Daniels. Back in the cabin, seat 14C was quiet amidst the chaos. Most passengers were gripping the armrests, praying, or trying not to scream. But one man sat calmly, his hands resting on his lap, his eyes scanning the cabin with quiet determination. Henry Thompson, a middle-aged farmer from Iowa, had flown only a handful of times in his life. Yet, he felt a strange certainty, as if fate had quietly chosen him for something extraordinary. The captain's voice came again, sharper this time. This is your captain speaking. I need everyone to brace for impact. A collective groan filled the cabin. Children whimpered. People gripped strangers' hands. And then, in the midst of fear, Henry stood up. He had never thought of himself as brave. He was a man of simple routines, tending to his farm, fixing broken fences, and waking up with the sunrise. But instinct, or perhaps something deeper, compelled him to move forward. He approached the flight attendant, who was trying to calm a hysterical passenger. Excuse me, Henry said firmly. I need to get to the cockpit. The flight attendant's eyes widened. Sir, you can't. I have to, Henry interrupted. Please, just let me. Before she could protest further, a voice rang from the cockpit. 14C, is that you? Henry froze. The captain's voice? How could he know? Then realization struck. Henry had pressed the cabin call button instinctively, and the captain had answered, Yes, it's me, Henry said. I think I can help. The cockpit door opened just a crack. Captain Reynolds looked at him skeptically. You? Help? This is highly irregular. Henry took a deep breath. I drive massive tractors and harvesters every day. I know about handling heavy machinery under pressure. I know about balance, momentum, and controlling things when they seem impossible to control. Daniels raised an eyebrow, unconvinced. This is an airplane, not a tractor. Reynolds's eyes met Henry's, searching for fear, hesitation, anything that might suggest this was madness. But all he saw was calm, unwavering determination. Something about this man, this ordinary farmer, resonated with him. Give me the controls, Henry said simply. Silence. The hum of the failing engines filled the cockpit. Then Reynolds exhaled slowly and nodded. All right, 14C, you've got the controls. But follow instructions precisely. One wrong move and we're done for. Henry seated himself, hands steady on the yoke. He listened intently as Reynolds and Daniels gave rapid-fire instructions: adjust the flaps, monitor altitude, account for wind shear, and maintain a safe glide path. Every instruction Henry followed with meticulous care. Below, the landscape was a patchwork of fields, rivers, and roads. Henry's mind shifted into a rhythm he knew well, like guiding a plow through soft soil, avoiding rocks, anticipating resistance. Only this was a giant, metal bird, teetering on the edge of disaster. The plane dipped sharply. A collective scream rose from the cabin. Henry held his ground, hands firm, eyes focused. Steady, steady, he muttered under his breath. Minutes felt like hours. Every jolt and sway tested him. Sweat dripped down his forehead, but he didn't flinch. He adjusted the throttle, nudged the rudder, and shifted the yoke with precision that seemed almost instinctual. Hold her steady. Reynolds shouted. You're doing fine, don't panic. Henry's heart pounded, but his mind remained calm. Years of handling unpredictable weather on the farm had prepared him for this in ways no pilot's training could. He read the wind, felt the momentum, anticipated the landing strip in a small clearing ahead. The plane approached the clearing, trees rushing past like a green blur. Henry adjusted the descent, tilting the nose just enough to absorb impact while keeping the landing gear aligned. The wheels touched the ground with a deafening thud, bouncing slightly, then stabilizing. The plane skidded across the field, tearing up earth and grass, sparks flying where the metal scraped rocks, and then, silence. The passengers erupted in cheers, crying, hugging, and thanking God. Captain Reynolds exhaled, slumping in his seat. I can't believe it, he murmured. You saved us all. Henry stepped out of the cockpit, his boots dusty from the emergency landing. Children clutched at his legs, asking questions. Adults shook his hand, some openly weeping. But Henry simply smiled, humble as ever. I just did what I thought was right, he said softly. I didn't panic, and I kept my head. You all need to remember, sometimes, ordinary people can do extraordinary things when the moment demands it. News crews would later call him a hero. Passengers would tell the story for decades. But Henry returned home to his farm, tending his fields, fixing fences, and living quietly. For him, it was never about fame, it was about doing what was necessary when the world needed him most. That day, Flight 472 didn't just land safely. It reminded everyone that courage isn't measured in titles or experience, but in presence of mind, calm determination, and the willingness to step forward when fear grips the hearts of many. And in seat 14C, a humble farmer had become a legend.